87 miles southwest of Isla Nublar, there exists a much larger island. Isla Sorna, or Site B as it's commonly known, was the breeding ground for all of InGen's cloned dinosaurs. Now, this second island was where most of the action took place in Jurassic Park's first sequel, The Lost World, as well as that movie's follow-up, Jurassic Park 3. It's become a pretty popular piece of JP history, and it owes all of that to its iconic creator, Michael Crichton. Now, Site B's first appearance was in the second novel in his Jurassic Park series, and with its introduction came a ton of new different dinosaurs. Carnotaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, and Moosaurus all appeared, just to name a select few. Along with all of these new creatures, we also got to see the return of many of our old favorites from the first novel, like Tyrannosaurus Rex and Velociraptor. Now, in the very same book that introduced Site B, it's explained to the reader that all of these dinosaurs and the island itself will be threatened by something extremely dangerous and ultimately unavoidable. The information that was provided in that second book has unfortunately been something that not a lot of people in the general public really know about. So I thought it'd be a good idea to lay it all out for everyone and dive deep into the ending of that second novel. For anyone who hasn't read the books and wants to learn more about the Jurassic Park universe, this is how Isla Sorna was destroyed. Richard Levine, Doc Thorne, Ian Malcolm, and Sarah Harding all sat amongst one another in the small boat that they'd luckily fled to. The two stowaways, Kelly Curtis and Arby Benton, accompanied them on their journey out of Site B. They were presently leaving the jungle river behind, moving through a swift tidal current that would hopefully lead them to an eventual civilization. Tired but happy to have survived, conversation soon breaks out among them. This had been one hell of an experience. Levine looked back at the island, suspecting that with all of the cameras that they'd put up and the uplink working, that they'd be able to continue to gather their data and finally get an answer about extinction. But Sarah Harding thought that this was pretty unlikely. Richard couldn't believe such a response coming from his colleague. She'd experienced Sorna right there with him and everyone else on the boat. It was the perfect lost world. After he made that particular statement, Dr. Harding stared at him in disbelief. "It's nothing of the sort," she said. "Too many carnivores, remember?" Richard conceded that this may be a bit of an issue, but he didn't think it was that major. Well, Sarah elaborated further on just why this was a bad place to conduct any further research. "Ian and I checked the records," she stated. "They made a mistake on this island many years ago, back when the lab was still in production. They were manufacturing infant dinosaurs and they didn't know what to feed them. For a while, they gave them goat's milk, which was fine, but it's very hypoallergenic. Now, as the carnivores grew, they began to feed them a special animal protein extract. It was ground up sheep." "So," Levine replied, "what's wrong with that?" Sarah explained to him that in a zoo, they would never use sheep extract. There was too much of a danger of infection. This made Levine pay closer attention. "What kind of infection?" he asked. "Prions," Malcolm said from the other side of the boat. Harding continued that prions are the simplest disease-causing entities known, even simpler than viruses. They're just protein fragments. They're so simple they can't even invade a body. They have to be passively ingested. But once eaten, they cause disease. Scrapie in sheep, mad cow disease, and kuru, a brain disease in human beings. And the dinosaurs developed a prion disease called DX from a bad batch of sheep protein extract. The lab battled it for years trying to get rid of it, and for a while, it seemed as if they did. The dinosaurs were flourishing, but then something happened. This disease began to spread. The prions were excreted in feces, and the compies happened to eat feces, which means they were all infected. And since they're scavengers, they spread the protein over carcasses, and other scavengers soon became infected as well. Eventually, all the raptors were infected, and since raptors attack healthy animals not always successfully, one bite, and the animal becomes infected. And so bit by bit, the infection spread through the island again. That's why these animals die early, and the rapid die-off supports a much larger predator population than you would expect. Levine became visibly anxious. "You know," he said, "one of the compies bit me." "I wouldn't worry about it," Harding replied. "There may be a mild encephalitis, but it's usually just a headache. We'll get you to a doctor in San Jose." "But the point," she said, "is that I doubt this island will be able to tell you very much about extinction." Malcolm stared back at the dark cliffs for a moment, and then he began to speak. "Maybe that's just the way it should be," he said. "Extinction has always been a great mystery. It's happened 5 major times on this planet, and not always because of an asteroid. I wonder if we're the cause of the next one." "How is that?" Kelly asked. "Human beings are so destructive," Malcolm said. "I sometimes think we're a kind of plague that will scrub the earth clean. We destroy things so well that I sometimes think maybe that's our function. Maybe every few eons some animal comes along that kills off the rest of the world, clears the decks, and lets evolution proceed to its next phase. Kelly just shook her head. She turned away from Malcolm and moved up the boat to sit alongside Dr. Thorne. "Are you listening to any of that?" Thorne said. "I wouldn't take any of it too seriously. It's just theories. Human beings can't help making them. But the fact is that theories are just fantasies. And they change. When America was a new country, people believed in something called phlogiston. You know what that is? No? Well, it doesn't matter, because it wasn't real anyway. They also believed that 4 humors controlled behavior. And they believed that the Earth was only a few thousand years old. Now I believe the Earth is 4 billion years old. And we believe in photons and electrons, and we think human behavior is controlled by things like ego and self-esteem. We think those beliefs are more scientific and better." "Well, aren't they?" Kelly asked. Thorne shrugged. "They're still just fantasies. They're not real. Have you ever seen a self-esteem? Can you bring me one on a plate? How about a photon? Can you bring me one of those?" Kelly shook her head. "No, but..." "And you never will, because those things don't exist. No matter how seriously people take them," Thorne said. 100 years from now, people will look back at us and laugh. They're gonna say, "You know what people used to believe? They believed in photons and electrons." Can you imagine anything so silly? They'll have a good laugh, because by then, there will be newer and better fantasies. Thorne shook his head. "Meanwhile, you feel the way the boat moves? That's the sea. That's real. You smell the salt in the air? You feel that sunlight on your skin? That's all real. You see all of us together? That's life, and life is wonderful. It's a gift to be alive, to see the sun and to breathe the air. And there isn't really anything else. Now look at that compass and tell me where south is. I'm gonna go to Puerto Cortes. It's time for all of us to go home." And with that, the second book in Crichton's Jurassic Park series ends. Now, the information within this novel is integral to understanding what paleontologists believe may have happened to Sorna in the movie canon. You see, in the film universe, the details surrounding all of the dinosaurs' extinction on the second island are alluded to heavily in the website that was made by the Dinosaur Protection Group. Eventually, it would be revealed that one major force was responsible for that island's death. Ultimately, the blame was placed primarily on the illegally bred species that we got to see in Jurassic Park 3. And it turns out that the Spinosaurus was, sadly, responsible for killing the Lost World in the films. The books offered up this bit of info that was mined for the creation of everything new that's been coming out as of late. And interestingly, the events from Crichton's novel that I've gone over in this video were also going to be incorporated in the original ending for the film adaptation of The Lost World. But that's a topic for a whole other video. Now, I'm curious to hear what all of you think about the ending of the second book. Since it led to the death of Isla Sorna, not too many people seem to like to talk about it and instead prefer to just look to the films for all information instead. Personally, I think going back to the novels is the only way in which you can really give yourself the complete Jurassic experience, but hey, that's just me. Let me know what all of you guys think in the comments down below. Now before I go, I want to thank all of my game wardens, as well as all of my InGen executives. I'd also like to thank all of my park workers and InGen hunters as well. It really means the world to me to hear that you guys appreciate what I do so much, and I seriously am extremely thankful for everything that you guys do to show support. It honestly means the world. Now I'd like to thank you all for watching this video, and hope that you all enjoy today's content. If you feel like I deserve it, I'd appreciate the like and hope that you'll consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing from me again. I'll see you on the next video, guys. And as always, take it easy.